Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Glad that you came to join us this morning. We have a fantastic speaker today. We have Sure that is going to come and talk a little bit about their business. So without further ado, let us welcome April Kelly. April, it's all yours.
All righty. Hello, everyone. I am going to share my screen. So if you can bear with me for just a second while I get my presentation pulled up for you. Let's see. All right. Let me move some things around. Okie dokie. So thank you first and foremost, everyone, for having me today. I am super excited to share more about my business and answer any questions that you guys may have afterwards. But the name of the business is Sure, and we specialize in ready-made plant-based milk for babies and toddlers. So here's a little bit about me. My professional background is in sales, business development. I currently work as an account manager in the healthcare staffing industry, placing surgeons and OBGYNs all across the country. And with the business, though, we started this journey about 3 years ago, and it was a personal problem. I have 4 kiddos and 3 girls and 1 boy. The last one is a boy. Thank God for my husband. You guys pray for him. But we ran into some complications with our 3rd baby girl when we bought her home. Our plan was to breastfeed her just as we had with our older 2 kids. And unfortunately, about a week and a half, 2 weeks in, I was battling with a little bit of postpartum depression, excruciating feedings because she had a tongue tie, and she also, she had a tongue tie, and then we were also dealing with just the emotions, the ups and downs with our other kids and trying to get stable, right? So we ultimately decided that it would be a good idea to supplement and to introduce a formula to her. We were a vegan family at the time, completely vegan, and so it was important for us to find a plant-based formula. And we did find one, but unfortunately, it did not satisfy our baby girl in a many of ways. For one, she became super gassy, irritated, and just unfulfilled. And then on the other hand, she started to actually have skin breakouts, spitting up. And so we grew very concerned. That led my husband and I to really dig deeper and do some additional research to finding out what exactly is an infant formula. Why is our baby responding to it in this way? And if we can create a formulation that was natural, that was safe, that was nutritious, that she could, take in, that we could make here in our home. So again, we continued our research, we partnered with the experts, and we came up with the formulation. Let me go on to the next slide. And so once we came up with that formulation, we shared it on our social media site and got so much engagement and feedback from other moms who just started to pour out their stories and their challenges and what their experience had been like with infant feeding. And I was like, you know what? There might be a market out here for this. And if it is, we're going to find it. So that led us to doing a lot of customer discovery interviews. And some of the problems that we came upon were health concerns, just as we had experienced due to some of the harmful ingredients found in the formulas on the market. A lot of people mentioned the high cost associated with infant formula. And then there are currently no ready-made 100% vegan options on the market. So that was a gap that we felt like we could fill. And as you all know, especially with the current situation that's happening in our world with the infant formula shortage, the trust has been lost among the longstanding competition. So that just gives us an opportunity to kind of step in and introduce a new solution, which is our ready-made vegan breast milk alternative, which is sometimes what we call it. And we want to offer it in a subscription-based format. So that's going to save money. It's going to give that convenience factor that moms, right, the modern moms of today really need, because a lot of them are working, a lot of them have multiple kids. So we're keeping the moms in mind as well as the babies. And this is for moms by moms. And you don't see that as often in this industry as you would think. And so here's a little bit about the product. We are currently pre-revenue and preparing to launch this upcoming summer, but I did want to get some visuals so you can kind of get an idea of what we're working towards. So this packaging here is what our formula is going to come in. So I'm sorry. Let me see if I can go back. Yeah, it is 8-ounce pouches that can be frozen as well. So similar to breast milk storage bags, if you're familiar with those. But this is me here at NC-FIL, which stands for North Carolina Food and Innovation Lab. They are the ones who we partnered with to finalize our formulation, and they are an extension of NC State. And here you'll see coconut, almonds, and dates. Those are some of the ingredients that'll be in our formula. Again, it's 100% vegan, soy-free, no GMOs. It's also corn syrup-free. This little emblem means it doesn't have any palm oil, which is used as a preservative, but it's very hard on the gastro. So we're leaving that yucky stuff out. As far as how we plan to connect with our consumer, we initially want to just keep it online through our storefront. So direct to consumer, the subscription base like we previously spoke about, and then also an affiliate program. One of the things we all know is that social media right now is truly king. And so we want to take advantage of that and partner with other moms and influencers who have a similar target audience, bring them on board to help us share the word, do reviews, and hopefully get paid with the sales that they are able to bring in. Accessibility is super important to me. I always knew once we made that turn to say, yes, we're going to do this as a business, I always knew that I still wanted everyone to be able to have access to our product. And so we plan to do that in a couple of different ways. One would be trying to be a vendor with the WIC program, if you're familiar with that. And then also to maybe come up with a generic brand that still delivers that quality, complete nutrition. So thank you all. I know that was kind of fast. If you all have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now, but this is our website, thesurecompany.com. Please do check us out and share with your mom friends or any expecting moms or future moms, even family and friends, so that they could sign up for our email list and get first access to our pre-launch event that's going to be happening really soon. Thank you.
Thank you, April. I do have a question. So your subscription, what is the cost for that? What does your revenue stream look like for that, or your anticipated?
So I'll complete transparency, we're still building that out. So we haven't quite decided about it, but we have, based on what we were told and based on our findings as far as the price of the product in the industry, it ranges from 1 8-ounce ranges from $3 to $7 per bottle, right? So our cost is going to come somewhere between that. And what we're trying to do with the subscription model, though, is to fall between about $20, $30 a week, as opposed to sometimes upwards of $40 to $60 a week, which is what our customers are paying right now. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're going for, but we still haven't solidified that just yet.
So is it physician approved? I mean, I have a granddaughter and I know she had some struggles early on. She's about 1.5 years old now, so she's not on formula. But she definitely had some struggles in the beginning. And I know that there was some sort of different milk that they used. And I remember my son talking about how expensive it was. So, so is this like physician approved for babies that have that the milk isn't is tough on their tummies?
So it will be FDA approved as a complete nutrition beverage for kids. So with what I was actually doing some research last night, and this has been one of our biggest obstacles and challenges, is kind of navigating the FDA landscape, right? And not running into any red tape, especially now since it's super hypersensitive with everything that's going on. So we are wanting to start out calling it a complete nutrition beverage or breast milk alternative, any of those things specifically targeted towards toddlers. And until we get that FDA approval for the infant formula, that's how we're going to market it. But it would be safe for to be consumed with with your doctor's approval for babies under 12 months. But the one thing that has changed with everything happening with the shortage right now is that the FDA is becoming a little bit more I hate to use the word lenient because that gives off the wrong impression, but they are trying to make it easier for infant formula companies to get their formula out there just because of the shortage, right? So there are certain things that they are doing case by case exceptions on, as long as it still meets, the complete nutrition qualifications. And so I think that'll be our way that we'll be able to get in with the FDA and get that approval sooner than we normally would have had this whole situation hadn't happened, honestly. So we still are going after the FDA approval, to answer your question, but initially, until we get that, we'll be marketing it towards 6 months and up, actually.
So I just have one last question. I was actually visited your website, and it says 100% female owned. What challenges has that created for you, April, if any?
That's so funny that you ask. On the one hand, it's a huge pro because I think moms are really wanting to champion this, right? They're wanting to be a part of something that's different, that's new, that is female owned, because at the end of the day, what I always say and what I said out loud to myself when I was doing the research and found that the main stakeholders in the industry were men, I was like, but they can't even make milk, And so it's so funny that it's truly driven. It's a truly male-driven industry. And so I guess the cons of that have just been some on the more personal side. I'll be completely transparent because I think this is what allows other entrepreneurs to kind of glean from and learn from, and just know that, if you feel this way, it's completely normal. But I felt, I had imposter syndrome at some point, and I was like, you know what, can I really go up against the big guys? I'm a little fish in a big pond. Can I do this? Can I pull this off? And not only would I would be the first Black female in this space as well, which also kind of presents another set of challenges, And so for me, I haven't really seen, thank God, a ton of like head-on challenges specifically stemming from being a female just yet. But I will say that I'm preparing myself for those conversations to be, maybe the only female in the room at times, or, maybe even running into our competitors. But I like to try to stay focused and really locked in on what my goal is, what my mission is, because that's all I can control. I can't control, the industry and what everyone else is doing, but I can control my impact. And so that's what I try to stay focused on. But it definitely helps to have the support of so many moms that have just really come out and shared their stories and connected. And every time I drop something on our social media, they're ready to share. So that part really, really does help. And I think there's strength in numbers, right? And so that's our goal, is to really keep our eyes focused on our supporters, our influencers, our users, and our customers. That was a long answer to your question, but
that's fantastic. I really appreciate it. And so many of us are at Fayetteville Tech, and we actually do something supporting entrepreneurs in the fall. Would love to invite you back to come and be one of our speakers, especially for women entrepreneurs. So just a little bit off topic, but thanks for the great answer. Does anybody have any questions for April?
Yeah, I've got a ton of questions, which is not unusual, right? We heard about the marketing aspects and working, which if we get to it, I am curious as to how long do you think that FDA decision will come, because it usually takes quite a while. But I'm more curious, because you didn't talk about it, is your operations. Do you have a factory, or are you subbing it out, or how is that working for you? And then I've got follow-up questions, but I would love to hear more about your operations. And by the way, how long has it taken you to get to this point? Can we have some kind of chronology here?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So as I mentioned, we've been on this journey for about 3 years. My daughter is 3 years old. And so we started this, naturally after she was born. So we've been on this journey for 3 years. We actually became incorporated in 2021 in October. But prior to that, we were doing a lot of just walking in the dark, I'll be honest with you, Ken. And we were connecting with a lot of the small business resources here locally, like SBTDC, SCORE, working with them to even get us connected with MBA students to come on board and help us with our market research. So for the first about 2 years solid, that's all we were doing. We're just strictly market research, really trying to understand the industry and the landscape. And then up until recently, we participated in different accelerators. I don't know if you're familiar with Venture Labs out of Virginia Tech. We're now part of USA Women's Entrepreneurial Cooperative, which is about 150 women across the country. So those are some of the things that we've been doing on the back end for the last 3 years, just to make sure that we're staying on the cutting edge. We validated our idea, we're ready to go, right? From an operational standpoint, we've also been working with NC Phil. So that's the name that I mentioned a second ago, North Carolina Food and Innovation Lab. That's the extension of NC State. They're the ones that came on board from the very beginning to kind of help us to figure out what does the product need to have and all of the nuances from a scientific approach, right? As far as the vitamins, the minerals, and all of our ingredients that we wanted to include into our formula. So we literally just had a handoff call from them about a couple of weeks ago to our now manufacturer. Our now manufacturer, Ken, is Synovatech. They're based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and they're the ones that are going to come on board to help us with the bulk order, right? To scale up. And so, no, I'm not making this in my home like I was for my daughter. I'd never do that for the masses. But they're the experts that we're really leaning on to make sure that, all of the certifications, all of the FDA processes and things like that, we're very much so involved in that process, but they're the ones that are taking the lead on it. So Synovatech out of Raleigh, North Carolina is our current manufacturer.
So your background is marketing and sales.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? In what kind of industry?
The healthcare industry. And we also, my sales career started out in the media, telecommunications with, I don't know if you're familiar with Suddenlink. Yep. I worked for them as an account executive on the media side. I always say that was my first big girl job and my first introduction into sales. And then from there, I worked for a company called Cintas. And we did outside sales as well with facility services. So that's like your logo mats and cleaning supplies for, industrial offices, medical offices, things like that. And then I went on into healthcare staffing, which is where I am now.
Well, I can tell you, Lori jumped quickly on you becoming a guest speaker here at FTCC, and it would, I could see why she jumped on it pretty quickly. It's pretty impressive as to what you've accomplished. And I liked the patience and the research that you did. We get a lot of people who come on Million Cups who have great ideas, but very little business background. You've got both here, and you're quite an inspiration. But I'm going to correct one thing, and there's a purpose for it. I said men cannot produce milk, but we can do what you're doing right now. So and the reason I'm bringing that up is that. Do you have any proprietary aspect to your product that would prevent competition? Because you may be the only one out there now, but if it takes off, what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. We've thought about that time and time again, honestly. And it was the reason and the basis for one of our biggest pivots that we did since we've been on this journey. And I can say it because we are patent pending and working on that on the back end. But initially we started out strong on the fact that we were going to create a dissolvable infant formula tablet. So if you're familiar with Airborne, or Alka-Seltzer, something like that, that's more convenient, more compact, very easy to use, no mess. And we still are working on that. But that is taking a lot more time. It was going to slow down our timeline for speed to market. And we weren't going to be able to make any money off of that while we were trying to create it, right? And so we were like, well, what can we do? Let's just go with what we know. Let's just go with what we've been doing for our child first, get in the revenue, reinvest in the business, and then work towards that. That'll be our, oh, but wait moment. We also have. And so That brings me to one of my questions or call outs that I was going to put to you guys. We do want to bring on staff or at least connect with an attorney in this space, in the food and bev space, and someone who actually has experience in the baby space. That's really what we want. But up until now, we are working with an organization called Food Wit, and they're the ones that are giving us that legal direction and guidance, and also how to market our product, what words to say, what not to say, things like that. And then the patent, like I was telling you guys, we can patent the tablet, but we have to do a trade secret for the recipe. And so that's what we're doing with that. I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anything as far as any other measures that we're putting into place. But you're right. Yeah. Anyone can come up with an idea and try to do what we're doing. But I think the biggest competitive advantage for us is the fact that, like I told you before, women-led, mom-led. My husband's on board as well. So I get to kind of get his perspective from a male standpoint. And he was in the weeds with me in the very beginning, making the milk and all of that. So he's my honorary co-founder. I always will make sure he's mentioned. But yeah, so those are some of the things that we're doing, Ken.
Well, yeah, it just sounds like you're doing a great job. I'd love to hear more about this later on, but I just think that you got a great product, and you're absolutely right. Divulging the ingredients is probably the worst thing that could happen to you, and it's really difficult in terms of taking your concoction and making sure that you can advertise or promote it without giving away too much. I think that's going to be your stickiest part. But it's I love the tablet idea. I think what a fantastic, and you can patent that. That would be pretty awesome. I like it. Reminds me of the old fizz. You're probably way too young for this, but used to drop tablets into water and create drinks out of it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know something similar to that we've had, and we actually got it from, no pun intended, but we did get it from our grandparents. From a flea market when I was younger, they used to get those to us. But yes, I totally know what you're talking about. But we're excited about the future of Sure. It's looking pretty solid. I mean, we're just trying to hang in there because there are things, like I told you guys before, that are out of our control, and pivots that we continue to have to make. Literally a conversation yesterday, I got off the call and I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach 1,000 times because I'm like, oh my God, another change. But some of the things that we could use some help with really quick, before I know we have to cut in just a second, but we are looking for funding. So back to your question earlier about, some of the challenges that I am facing, that is one. And so far we have bootstrapped this business, and we also did receive a $10K grant from NC IDEA, their micro grant, and we do intend to go back to apply for their $50K grant in the fall. And so funding continues to be something where we are considering crowdfunding as well as an option. And then if you guys could, like I said, continue to share our website, sign up for the email list, that is going to be where we announce, obviously on our social media pages too, but that is going to be where we announce our pre-launch campaign. We do feel, and maybe every entrepreneur feels this way, but I strongly feel that we will sell out pretty quickly, just because the earlier batches sizes are going to be on the smaller size, and the interest already is just overwhelming. So definitely share the email list. If there's anyone that knows about possible ways to continue to get our story out, get exposure in the form of interviews, podcasts, anything of that nature. We have done a couple of news interviews. We'd be open to having those conversations. And like I mentioned earlier, legal counsel in the food space. So any of those 4 things, if you guys have any feedback, even if it's after the call, I'll put my slide back up, or my email address is april@thesurecompany.com. I'll drop it in the chat if anyone wants to connect. And the place that I got the grant from, I see a question in the chat. It was NC IDEA. So North Carolina, that stands for North Carolina, NC IDEA micro grant.
Have you looked into the SBA in terms of funding?
I have. I've been trying not to do loans right now. Just because I'm a little bit of an overachiever in ways, and I'm like, I can get to $1 million without getting a loan, but maybe not. But I haven't. I've looked at their options, and I've become well versed on them, but we haven't moved on any of those just yet.
What have you thought about a partner then?
We've been approached by investors. And that too was something that I feel like, we're early on, and it just, would have to make sense. And then at one given point, even now we're still working on our financials, right? And so I didn't want to waste an investor's time and say, yeah, we're ready, come, we want partners, but we don't have that financial, we don't have the financials down, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah, it might still be early.
It's still a little early. We're right on the cusp of it. We're just waiting on just a few variables that may or may not change here over the next few months as we finalize the product. But once we do that and get the pricing in place, then we definitely will consider partners. But like I said, just want someone who can add value, right? So
yeah, it would be good if you can get to market, and then I would highly consider it because I mean, you've got I don't want to call the vegan market a niche market because it's getting so big now.
Right, it is.
And you got a big target audience. You have an exclusive product at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You need to take advantage of that and be first to the market and get that name out there, because you will have competition if it's successful.
Do you think it would be a good idea to see, here's my struggle with that. And if this is going on too long, please let me know, but I would love to connect with you offline too, Ken. Do you think that it's too early to do a pre-sale event? This has been our challenge without having the final date of when the next batch is going to be ready. That's the part that keeps changing. And I just don't want to be a disappointment to our customers so early on. And we say, hey, it's going to be ready now. Or like, I'm trying to figure out.
You got to be really careful with that. I've been involved in that in the manufacturing end where we had a product out and it took like 2 years longer to get it out to market, and we lost a lot of the momentum doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would caution you in doing something like that till you're ready to launch and really hit the market. And you got to make sure that your supplier can produce. The problem is you're single sourced on your supplier, right? So the problem is where's their priority as well?
Mm-hmm.
If it's profitable for them, then good. If the margins aren't there for them, and if you can't make that connection to the market in terms of pricing and leave yourself a slim profit margin,
right?
Those are the things that you've got to sort out to make sure that before you start. That's why I think you've got to get this thing to market, and then there you have opportunities like that. But it's and I think the FDA is a huge step in that as well.
Yeah,
and I hope it moves quickly for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Ken. What were the qualifications? One more question's in the chat. They have it listed on the website. I can't remember all of them now, but the micro grant is really good for startup companies. Even if you are pre-revenue, that's one of the reasons why we were able to go after it, because the whole idea is that they want to help you after you get the grant to build out your MVP and to validate your idea. And a lot of that process looks like customer interviews, and they walk you through that process. So even if you're early on, I would encourage you, if you to go ahead and get a business plan, put down if that's something that you're interested in, because a lot of the questions are going to be answered through your business plan. So it'll make it easier for you, or even do a lean canvas. And you can Google a lean canvas, and that'll at least give you a snapshot of your business that you can reference as you're answering the questions. But the micro grant is the one that's for startup. And then what's the other one's called? The seed grant is the one that's for if you already have revenue and you're a little bit more established.
Do we have any other questions for April? If not, April, I'm going to take the last question. What can this community do for you? How can we help you?
So again, the email list is a great way. We really want to put a lot of focus and drive a lot of traffic towards that. So if you could share the email list, which is just going to our website, thesurecompany.com, and I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This will give anyone who's on that list first access to our pre-launch event once we get that scheduled and mapped out. Any funding ideas or resources would be awesome. Coverage as far as like any interviews, if anyone has a podcast or if anyone knows anyone in the media that we could pitch our story to, I would love to do that. And then legal counsel in the food space. So if you know anyone who is an attorney, who knows an attorney, who can even, point us in the right direction, that would be great.
Well, April, I want to thank you for the fantastic presentation. I would love to invite you back in a couple of months so you can let us know where things are going.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also love for you to come and just do a virtual presentation for many of our aspiring entrepreneurs that we have here at the campus.
Mm-hmm.
Great presentation. I'll stay in touch.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out and supporting small business and entrepreneurship in our community. Mm-hmm. You guys have a great day. We are scheduled to come back July the 13th. So just be on the lookout for the email. We will resume our normal schedule beginning August the 10th. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great day. Thank you, April, for the
welcome. Thank you all.
Good luck. And we'll see you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.